She'd be back in a few days, probably without so much as a thank you from the sainted Gloria. Takeoff had been uneventful and beautifully smooth. It really was a glorious way to travel. It was too bad Mr. Barron Jr. was so unpleasant, always focused on business and the bottom line, and was known to hold a grudge against anyone for any perceived wrong. Or else, she might consider pursuing him. Only having his money and lifestyle might make up for actually having him. Dream on, Nora. If you don't make sure these meetings go perfectly, you won't have him or a job. She'd pulled out her slimline laptop, opened it on the table, and started to review the schedule of events, the food and drink required for each, what technology had been booked, and the related agenda. Nora had been deep into double-checking dinner details when the world went to hell. The gunshot was heart-stoppingly loud in the enclosed space, and the screams from forward in the cabin had her snapping her head upright to a sight she couldn't fathom. Sid no longer sat across from Pat at the front of the cabin. Instead, he was on his feet, and the cabin wall beside Pat had become a Jackson Pollock painting of blood and brains. Then, Sid had a second gun in his hand, and when he went to the cockpit, he kept the gun in his left hand fixed on the occupants in the main cabin, constantly glancing back to make sure no one moved. No one did. The sight of the pilot and co-pilot being herded into the main cabin was as terrifying as the guns. Who was flying this plane? And if no one was flying it, were they going to crash or fly into a mountain? No one lived in this area of the country without knowing how dangerous it was to fly here. How high were they at this point? Had they cleared the 14ers? Then, Sid taunted Mr. Barron Sr., first by putting a gun to Mr. Barron Jr.'s head, then with his words. She was too far back to hear what he was saying, but she could hear the pleading in Mr. Barron Sr.'s voice, interrupted only by the captain begging to let him return to the cockpit. He could put down anywhere Sid wanted. He just had to name the place. But Sid wasn't budging. Nora didn't recognize the man holding the gun. Physically, she did. This was the man who always offered her a cheerful, "Good morning, Ms. Gleason," and asked about her weekend, holiday shopping, vacation plans. But that man wouldn't shoot a friendly colleague in the head. Except he had. They were all going to die. Her breath sawed as her heart punched against her breastbone, and her vision began to swim. She was going to pass out, unless she got her head between her knees. But she was still belted in tight, and the table was in the way. Through the buzzing in her ears, she gradually realized she could hear a whisper from behind her, and turned to peer into the kitchen, where the flight attendant hid. Nora couldn't actually see the attendant, so she turned back so as not to give anything away, but closed her eyes and strained to hear what she was saying, and picked up the word hijacker. The attendant was telling someone outside the plane what was going on. Maybe there was hope after all. The sharp crack of a gunshot sounded, followed by another in quick succession, and then it was chaos up front as Mr. Barron Jr. and Mr. Varma jumped the man. While they rolled on the floor, the pilot and co-pilot scrambled over seats to get past them and ran to the cockpit. Another gunshot followed by a cry of pain. The plane suddenly angled sharply up as the pilot tried to climb out of the deadly mountain peaks, the acceleration pressing Nora deep into her seat as the plane pitched in the strong winds. The plane lurched sharply downward as if thrown by a toddler's tantrum. Agonizing pain. Then, it all went black. Chapter 1. Approach. The walk or hike to the base of a climbing route. May 6th, 1:07 p.m. J. Edgar Hoover Building, Washington, D.C.